Hi, my name's Rob Triggs, and this is my story. My backstory: I went off to college and went to electronics school. And when I graduated, I got a job putting cell phones and two-way radios in cars. And someone said, hey, Xerox is hiring. So I went and applied, and I got hired as a service technician. Long story short, I used to go and speak to every new sales class about the technology to simplify it for them. By doing that, the head of the sales training department said, you should go into sales. So I got hired, and the moment of truth came. I had to do my first cold call. So I walk into the office, I see this lady sitting there, this nice receptionist, and I start to say what I needed to say, and I got nervous, I stuttered, I turned bright red, and I quickly turned around and left. So I got about 6 months in, I'm not doing well. I got all this negative self-talk. And my younger brother lived far away, and I was talking to him one night on the phone, and I said, I think I'm just gonna go back to service. I don't think I'm cut out for this. And he said, well, don't do that. I'm gonna send you this book that someone sent me. It's called Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude by Napoleon Hill. So I'm reading this thing, but it's talking to me, it's speaking to me, it's telling me what I should be doing. So anyway, I devoured this thing. I read it quickly. And then I just changed my mental perspective. I did so well that I ended up being the Rookie of the Year at Xerox, which is a big award. But not only that, I was the Sales Rep of the Year. My career flourished from there. Fast forward a little bit more, and a movie came out called The Secret. But The Secret is this documentary about the law of attraction. It drove a point home that there is a very simple way to be successful in life, and it's sitting right there in front of us. And we just have to grasp it and do it. So Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude, that book gave me the foundation, the beginnings of that. The Secret drove it home that there's a lot more to this. And so I started to become a student of what it was teaching us in that movie. Next thing I knew, I was on a plane to San Diego to go meet John Assaraf. In the movie, if you've never seen it, he used to use a vision board. And he would take this vision board and put all the pictures of all the things he wanted to achieve in life. And he took a picture of a home and he put it there. Over the years, he packed it up, moved to a new house, had a family. His young son, in the movie they show all this, his young son, he sees this vision board when they're unpacking, when they moved, and he said, Dad, what's this? And he looked at it and said, that's my vision board, I forgot all about it. And he started to cry, and he said, the house in the picture is the actual house he's living in. I felt compelled to go meet this guy, and I did. I went, sat in that house that was on the vision board, and I ended up working for him for a little while, for a company called One Coach. That was a very powerful experience for me. There was another person in the movie named Bob Proctor. Bob Proctor's program was all about, he says, thoughts become things. So if you think negative, you're basically manifesting negative. If you think positive, you're manifesting positive things. But then I met Kathleen Cameron. So Kathleen Cameron was a protege of Bob Proctor. Kathleen's another Canadian that wasn't overly happy with her life. She found Bob Proctor, did his program, and jumped in head first. And she uses the word embody, but she embodied the material, and Bob said, like nobody else ever did. So when I met Kathleen, I met her through my wife. My wife was going through one of her programs. I could see my wife change. And so I went through Kathleen's program, and it changed me. And it gave me the structure, and it gave me the tools I needed to go from thoughts become things and actually make that happen in my life. A lot of the success that I've had is based on these principles. And I've been working in business, helping companies grow. I helped a small company go from 6 people to over 100 people and get acquired successfully.
Rob joined us in the time where we were growing quickly, but he helped us grow even more quickly into the largest independent partner in Canada. And for that, we do appreciate everything he's done.
I've learned so much from Rob. I think I am starting to use his analogies. I'm starting to use his stories as if they're my own.
With Rob, the most important lesson I've learned is the relationship between sales and marketing. He calls it smarketing, and the entire company has adapted this term, and we live by it.
He leaves a legacy of a huge number of clients, a vast number of ways in which we've interacted with clients.
He has inspired me to reach for growth in multiple levels.
The past 12 years, from our first personal training session to selling side by side to the biggest logos in my career, you've been there as a friend, and as a mentor.
We're helping people apply these things so they can rapidly get to the success. And knowing how to sell and knowing how to do what I've done in business, applying that in an authentic, genuine way is really what I'm all about. That's who I am. And that's my story. Hello, good morning, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me okay. We are having some technical difficulties with our Zoom webinar this morning. And so welcome to the call. All of you are going to learn a ton of stuff today. So what are we here to talk about? We're here to talk about how I can help you make more money. How I can help you unlock the blocks that you probably don't even know that you have that are affecting how you sell, how you position the company you either work for or the company that you own. So we're going to cover a lot of ground today. So to get started, hopefully that video, for those of you who don't know who I am, some of you are on the call know who I am already, but for those of you who don't know who I am, that video was supposed to give you a bit of a background of why should you listen to me? Like, who am I to be sitting here telling you all these things? Well, I've started my career, as the video said, I started my career as a service technician, technical guy, all kinds of beliefs about myself, some positive, some not so positive, like most of us. And someone said to me, go into sales. And I said, no way. And anyway, I'm glad that I did because I went in and I learned how to sell. I learned how to connect with people. And the journey's been 27 years and counting. And I'm here today to share some of the things that I've learned along that way, some of the things that people who have either worked for me or I've coached have applied and had a ton of success. And so my goal today in this next 50 minutes or less is to give you some real value today that you can take with you at the end of this call and sort of surge ahead. Okay, so what are we here for today? So we're here, the name of this webinar is called Sales Mind Reset. And when we decided to call it that, I thought, I wonder how many people will want to come to a webinar that's all about mind resets. It sounds like hocus pocus potentially. And so I'm really glad you're all registered. I'm going to try to make it very tangible and tactical, and so that you can really listen. I'd like you to open your mind to the different possibilities that are out there to help you grow your business. Again, whether you're a salesperson, a sales leader, or an entrepreneur, all three of those groups are welcome here, and you'll get a lot of value out of it. All right, so before I get started, I want to share some statistics. So I got some notes here I want to read. So 70% of salespeople lack professional sales training. So I grew up at Xerox, which is well renowned for the sales training that they offer. And so I was very fortunate to get solid sales training back all those years ago. And so that stat alarmed me a little bit. 70% of all B2B salespeople don't have formal sales training. So maybe some of you have fallen into that category that you don't have that. And if you don't have that, you can probably close your eyes and think, do I need formal sales training? Could I actually be better at what I'm doing if I had some formal sales training? And so we'll get more into that in a minute. But the next stat is that when someone does go do formal sales training, like traditional sales skill training, that 70% of the reps forget what they learned just after 1 week. So if 70% of it is lost after 1 week, one would say, well, maybe traditional sales training isn't the best way to drive our business forward. The next statistic says after a month, they've forgotten 87% of what they were taught. And the last stat is 1 in 10 facts that they collected during the sales training are lost. So it's basically there's a 10% retention. Boil all those stats down, and after 6 months, there's a 10% retention of the training that they've done. So there are ways that you can influence that. As a sales leader, you could put strong sales management process in place. So if you have a sales training program that teaches specific sales skills, when you're meeting with your sales team, then you want to reinforce that learning by asking the questions that reinforce it and help enable the shift in the behaviors so that the the investment you've made in the sales training actually works. So that's the world of sales training. And I'm not really here to talk a lot about sales training other than to say that's where most companies spend their money. They spend their time on traditional sales training. The next thing they spend their money on is sales tools. So I've spent the last 15 years working for a company that sells and implements CRM systems. So a CRM is pretty much the lifeblood of any salesperson, but it's also the system that most salespeople hate using for whatever reason. And so there's other enablement tools that are available to help a salesperson be more effective and efficient. And with AI surging forward, AI is starting to take over some of the more mundane tasks of salespeople that you can implement right away. So I highly recommend companies invest, or even individuals invest in leveraging AI to help you with various stages of the sales cycle. In fact, I'm leveraging an AI worker, an AI agent, and my AI agent, that's hard to say. My AI agent is going out every day and it's prospecting for me. It's doing 1,000 calls a day. And when I grew up at Xerox, we used to measure activities and we used to say 10 activities a day minimum. So my little agent's going out doing 1,000 a day. So I'm a big believer and user of technology, but even that's not what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about something else that you may not have considered too much, and that is your mindset and how that plays a role in you selling. So open your mind and listen to this. 95% of the decisions you make each day are done based on what your subconscious mind does. And your subconscious mind operates on autopilot, right? It's things like when you brush your teeth, you probably don't even think about it. Some days you might even brush your teeth and you're so busy and you start going to work and you stop for a minute and say, hey, wait a minute, did I brush my teeth? That's because your subconscious is making those decisions for you and it's habits, right? It's on autopilot. Well, the issue with that is your subconscious mind also has other things it's telling you, and that also is on autopilot. And not all of them are positive. I'll give you some examples. So when you go into a sales situation, let's say you've got a big presentation to do, you know there's a senior executives or multiple senior executives going to be in the meeting. A lot of people have nervousness and anxiety when they know an executive, a big bad executive, is going to be in the meeting as well. And so they get all hyped up and tense and everything else. And one of the reasons for that is they're focused on the outcome of the meeting more than being in the moment itself. And so they're so focused on the outcome, they get that Sunday night anxiety. Has anyone ever heard of Sunday night anxiety, where you just can't sleep at night on a Sunday night because your week's starting? That's a very common thing. And these things come from you believing or thinking about the outcome of something, worrying about the outcome. Now, why do we do that? Because that anxiety actually turns into fear. And fear does not exist outside of your brain. Like, fear is not something you can see fly by the window, right? Fear is just your thoughts focused on an outcome you're worried about not happening potentially. So as a salesperson, we have fears all the time. Is the demo going to go well? Is the team coming to support me prepared enough? Do I have enough formal sales training? And if I don't, do I have any kind of belief around that that says, well, I don't have any formal sales training and I'm worried that the customer is gonna find me out, you know? So not all of you will have the same beliefs, but I'm sure some of those resonated with a few of you. There's millions and millions of different beliefs that you could have. Now, where the heck do they come from? And that's a good question. Well, where they come from is it starts when you're little, like when you're not even 3 years old. So a lot of these beliefs are formed when you're really little. Things like you're crying in your crib and your parents don't come and get you quickly. So you're left there crying and crying and crying, and then you feel abandoned, and then you start to think, that's not good. So so you cry more, and maybe they'll come sooner. So all of these things that happen to you, teachers that have told you things or labeled you, coaches in sports and in other team events, things that they've said, these things are sitting in your brain and they're sitting in your subconscious. They're little beliefs that you have and they affect you, especially when you're in sales. Now, if you follow any professional sports, especially golfing, what you'll actually say or what you'll do is you will see that golfers, for example, at the highest level of sport, PGA, they visualize the outcome they want. And what separates a golfer from being a tremendous PGA golfer to not is their mindset. If they cannot control their mindset, I know there's someone on the call today that's an amazing golfer, and he can probably relate to this. But when you go up to do that putt, and if you have a bet, a lot of money on the line, you're making a bet with your buddies. Maybe there's a bunch of people watching. It's the 18th hole, and the patio's right there. You got all these people watching. So money's on the line. People are watching, and then instead of focusing on what's the slope, what's the texture of the grass, is it damp, is it dry, is it hard, is it whatever, right? All that stuff golfers do. I'm not a big golfer, but I know enough. And so your mind is thinking about, are those people watching me? I hope I do a good job. I hope I don't make a fool of myself. I don't want to lose this, whatever, $100, $1,000, whatever your bet is. I don't want my buddies to rib me. And so all these thoughts are racing through your head. Now that leaves very little brain power or computing power for you to actually focus on the shot. So what separates the elite athlete from the less elite? It's not their physical conditioning. It's not so much their practicing other than muscle memory. It's their mindset. If they cannot control their mind in the moment of truth, right? They're not going to do well. And you see it all the time, right? People mentally fall apart because they haven't done enough work to condition their minds. So where does that leave us? So I don't know how many of you are professional athletes, but I know pretty much all of you are professional salespeople, entrepreneurs, or sales leaders. So if you want to be at the height of your game, if you want to be a top performer salesperson, it's critical for you to do work and spend time on working on your mindset. I'll say that again. It's critical for you to do the work to focus on your mindset. And those who have worked with me for a while, we'll go on sales calls and the customers are saying all these things, all these things, all these things. And the salesperson will have a script potentially, or maybe even a presentation that they're trying to get through. And what I often find is they don't actually live in the moment and listen to what the customer's saying. Why is that? Because their mind won't shut up. It's going through all of those things. Just like the guy in the golf course on the green, the 18th hole, everyone in the patio watching, and their buddies kind of poking fun at them because they're going to miss. So all that stuff, all that mind junk is getting in the way of you being in the moment. So all of us have these subconscious beliefs that are formed, not all at a young age, but a lot of them are formed from a younger age, some of them in adolescence, some of them even later. And so we observe something in the real world, something that happens, and then we build beliefs based on that. Now, the thing about a belief can be changed instantly. And I'll give you a really good example. So let's say you have decided that you love beef, right? You love beef, you love steak, I do. And you watch an Oprah show from way back. And this actually happened. And Oprah comes on her show and she's going to talk about how beef are prepared and slaughtered and all that good stuff. Or maybe not good stuff. And so once you hear and see pictures and everything else, you look at that and you say, I am no longer eating anything with eyeballs. No more cow for me, no more chickens, nothing with eyeballs. That's so inhumane. I'm now going to be a vegetarian. And then you go and do that. And lots of people do that when they see those things. And so this belief instantly changed because there was something that influenced you. Well, you can wait for all the next Oprah shows to change all the beliefs that you have. But the first thing you need to do is you need to identify what beliefs you have that are not serving you. That's the work that I'm talking about. So what I invite you to do after the call is to sit down in a quiet place, relax, and write down any belief that you have about yourself, about your skills, your education, anything at all, whatever belief you have about yourself that doesn't serve you being a strong sales leader, salesperson, entrepreneur. That's the first step. So that's one of the things that you can do to identify what they are. Once you know what they are, then you could do something about them. If you don't know what they are, you really can't do anything about them. But the bigger picture in all this is we're leveraging something that is a natural law. Now, most of you may not have heard of all the natural laws. The most common ones are there's 12 natural laws. And one of the biggest natural laws that's probably the most famous because of different documentaries that have been done over the years is called the law of attraction. So what is the law of attraction? So the law of attraction is when you think about something, it becomes reality. So this law says whatever you think about can become reality. So if you're thinking negative things, more than likely, those are the things that are going to happen. And when you're thinking positive things, those are the things that can happen. It will happen. And so these laws are happening all the time. They're running in the background, just like gravity. I like this example. So when you walk out your front door to go to work in the morning, you don't walk out the door and say, okay, I'm coming out the door and I'm going to enact the law of gravity so I don't float away. You don't do that. You just walk outside. You're not even aware of gravity at all, but it's there, keeping you on the ground. The other example I like is the Wright brothers. So the Wright brothers, they leveraged the law of attraction. And what they did is they said, we're going to build a device that can help people fly. And for centuries, people have tried to figure out how to fly. And most people believed it wasn't possible. So, the Wright brothers are credited as the ones who invented airplanes. There's lots of different inventors that contributed to that, but they were the ones that got the credit. But anyway, these guys had a belief, they had a vision. They said, we see people flying. We don't know how, but we see people flying. We know it can be done. We're going to figure it out. So the ability to fly always existed. It was always there. They didn't really invent how to fly other than they tapped into a natural law called the Bernoulli principle that allows planes to lift up in the air carrying a load. So it's the same thing for all of us. How we manifest the things we want. So if you want to be a strong salesperson, you want to be a strong sales leader, you want to be a strong entrepreneur, you want to achieve the objectives. So as a salesperson, every year you're given a quota. And the first thing you do is you groan and you talk about how you can't hit it, right? So that's not what you should do. In fact, what you should do is set an even bigger goal than what your quota has been assigned to you. And then once you have that, you have to visualize that. You have to visualize you achieving that. You have to visualize yourself walking up on the stage at the end of the year at a sales celebration meeting where you're getting the trophy and you're getting all this money deposited into your bank account. What you visualize and what you think about, you can make happen. And it's not magic. So you can't go at the beginning of the year and say, okay, I visualize it. I can see myself earning all this money and then go sit on the couch eating cheesies. That's not going to work. So if you visualize it and you believe it, what you'll do is the actions that you'll take and the way you behave and the positivity in which you'll act because you believe it, it changes everything. Have you ever gone on a sales call where for whatever reason you're in such a good mood, you feel so good about this opportunity, you think you're for sure going to win this thing, and you can't wait to get on that meeting. So you go there and the customer can feel it. Like you're not being overly aggressive or anything like that. You're just feeling really, really good. So in the 12 natural laws, there's one called the law of vibration. So the law of vibration means everything has a frequency to it. If you study science, you'll see that everything has a frequency or a cycle, everything. Every physical object you see is made up of atoms, and even that has a frequency as well. So as human beings, we give off a frequency too. Some people call it your aura, whatever you want to call it. But you ever walk in a room and you're in that really, really good mood? You're vibrating high. You're giving off this high frequency. People can sense it, even if you don't believe this, like gravity, right? People can sense it. So when you're feeling good and you're going into a situation like that, that's when people can feel the vibration that you have. So, how do you tap into that? Like, how do you make that happen? Do you always have to be in a good mood to be vibrating high? No, you don't. Not a good mood, but what you need to do is you need to believe in what you're doing, right? So when you set a goal and objective to do something, you don't want to focus on all of the gaps you have to achieve to get to the goal. You visualize the end state in your 4D, in your imagination. One of your most powerful business tools that you have, and as far as we know, only humans have it, is your imagination. So use your imagination. Imagine you being hitting that number that you set for yourself. Set it to whatever you want. And then you will then engineer the way to get there. Subconsciously, you will start to do that. Now, what actually happens though is some of these self-limiting beliefs get in the way. So you set your objective, you say, okay, my quota is $3 million. I'm going to do $4 million. That's what I'm going to do. So, okay, $4 million. Then you do all the tactical things like building your plan and all that good stuff. And then you start working. And then what you literally observe day to day is maybe customers aren't calling you back quickly. Maybe your pipeline is not growing as fast as you want it to. Maybe you just lost a customer because these things happen. So now your belief in doing the $4 million year starts to turn into doubt. And then your doubt turns into a negative low vibration. And then your negative low vibration turns into you not doing the things you should do to hit the $4 million. So now you start finding doubt in everything. You go on a sales meeting and you come away and say, oh, that was terrible. I did a terrible job. Or whoever you brought in did a terrible job. So you'll find all these things that are wrong versus the things that are right. If you analyze all the things that are wrong all the time, you're going to vibrate low and you're going to be heading in the wrong directions because thought become things. When I first started at the last company I was at, the owner, super, super amazing guy, and we would go in and he just believed in so strongly in the company's ability to do things. And we would do meetings. We wouldn't even put up a presentation. We would just have a conversation for an hour with the customer. And the customer would listen to us and the questions back and forth and the genuine authenticity of wanting to help this customer and the experience that he had and everything else. So the customer would just go, I'm hiring you. There's no one else I want to do this for us. So we'd go around getting deal after deal after deal after deal because we just stripped away a lot of that formal, I know I talked about sales training at the beginning, but a lot of the formal sales skills. To be honest, you saw my video. I got amazing sales training from Xerox. It's phenomenal sales training, some of the best in the world. And some of those skills I use every day and without even thinking about it. But I struggled my first year. I almost, like the video said, if you caught it, I almost went back to service because I wasn't doing well. And it wasn't until I focused on my mindset is when I started to shift. And back then I read a book called Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude. In fact, it's behind me right there in the shadow box. That's the actual book I read 27 years ago. And so what I'm teaching you right now is elements of that book, actually more than what's in that book. So let's recap for a second, and then I want to move on to the next couple of things. So if you want to be a top performer, you need to set your intention. You need to set your vision. What is your vision? Sit down, write that out with as much detail as you possibly can muster and be really clear on what it is you want to achieve. Okay. If you can find a meaning behind it, like why do you want that? What will it do for you? What will it do for your family? Find that personal meaning in it. So once you've done that, and it's beyond setting goals, like they say that only 3% of the population set goals for themselves. And I find in sales, it's much higher than that because that's kind of the way we're wired. But even in sales, a lot of people, they might set a goal and then they don't pay any attention to it. It's like going to the gym. You say, I want to lose 10 pounds after New Year's, and then you quit after 3 weeks before you lose your 10 pounds. So in any event, what you want to do is you want to set that vision, high detail, write it down. Got it. Okay, that's done. So and you have to believe it. There's another thing on my shelf up there. There's a little blackboard. I do this little blackboard right there, and it says, feel the feeling of the wish fulfilled. So let's call your vision your wish. And what you want to do is not just write it down and then believe it. You want to feel it. You almost want to imagine yourself whatever it is. So walking up on the stage, if your company does that, getting that award, that big check going into the bank account at the end of the year, things like that, right? You want to feel it. You want to use your human emotions to feel it. Once you do that, what happens is you start to believe it. And once you start to believe it, no one can shake you off. Like the Wright brothers, no one could shake them off. They've screwed up so many times, crashing and everything else. And they could have easily said, flying's impossible. And then someone else would have invented it anyway, because there was always the ability to fly. So your ability to hit the $4 million it already exists. You just have to unlock the code to get to it. And we get in our own way as human beings. And the interesting thing right now is we're going through this AI revolution, right? Just like a lot of other revolutions we've gone through with the information age and computers and all those kinds of things. But this one's a bit different. But I recommend people not to be scared of it. Embrace it, learn how to use it, become a leader when it comes to AI. Don't be afraid of it. I know most of you aren't, because I think most of you are in tech sales anyway. But that's really, really important. So you've got your vision. Let's go back. So you got your vision. You've been really clear and honest. You've got the meaning behind it. What does it mean to you? Great. Then you sit and write out all the beliefs that don't serve you to go there. And spend an hour and do that. Quiet place, lots of paper, and just start writing them out. And what you'll find is stuff comes out of you that you didn't even know was there. So some of these sales meetings that don't go well, one of the reasons why is there's a belief you have about either your abilities or lack thereof that is sabotaging you, literally, and you don't even know it. Right? So you'll go in and you won't know why you felt a certain way. Someone looks at you a certain way or says something, it triggers something. You don't know why you feel doubtful. You don't know why you have these Sunday night anxieties. That's where that's where this stuff comes from. So write down all of your self-limiting beliefs, your beliefs that don't serve you to enable the vision that you've just written down. Okay. So once you've done that, it might throw you for a loop because there'll be things that come out that you probably didn't know that were there, but that's fine. We all have them. I don't know of a human being ever that doesn't have some of these, right? I remember going through high school, I wasn't the athletic jock kind of guy, and I used to think all the athletic jock kind of guys had it all figured out. But man, some of the stuff they deal with, they have more trouble than I was, and I didn't even know that. So I've worked with lots of different people over the years, and we're all the same, right? Men, women, age, doesn't matter. We all have these, and they affect our performance. And if you were to interview any professional athlete, they would tell you that the reason why they're at the highest level is because they've figured out how to control their mind, not because they, kept working out more than anybody else. Working out helps, believe me, but the mind is the key. Okay, so you got your vision, you got your beliefs written out, and now you're going, oh my God, what am I going to do now? So now what we need to do is you need to be conscious and aware of how these things are impacting you. So if you haven't gone through the exercise of writing them out so that you know what they are, you can't be aware. So they're still going to be affecting you, and you can't do anything about it because you don't even know. So now that you know, you need to be aware when you're preparing for a meeting and you feel a certain way and you feel your vibration or your energy level, if you want to call it that, dropping, stop for a second and say, okay, what am I just thinking about? Oh, I know what it is. I thought about that. And just reframe it, right? And it's the constant reframing. So you're telling your subconscious something different than what you've been thinking all these years. And there's other tools you can use. So one of them is I got my list here. So one of them is being able to journal. So journaling, not everyone does journaling, but in the morning, you can journal out your thoughts and you can practice gratitude. So gratitude is one of the strongest counteraction and reframing tools to these beliefs. So if you focus on all the things you're grateful for, either in your job, in your personal life, your health, whatever it is, you can even have a health issue, but still be grateful for the rest of the things that work on your body, like your eyes and this and that and the other thing. So if you practice gratitude, if you journal on a regular basis, those are some physical tools that you can use to counteract this subconscious stuff. Okay. There's other things too. All of you that are attending live are going to receive a free meditation audio that we've created. So we've been working on for the last 6 months meditation audio specifically for people responsible for selling and sales leadership. And it uses hypnosis technology or hypnosis science. And I'm working with a lady by the name of Renya. She's a professional master hypnotist. So the voice you'll hear on this audio that you get today is Renya's voice. I start the audio, so you know it's me, and then she does the actual audio itself. And she's a professional master hypnotist. Now, are we hypnotizing you? And it's not like on the cartoons where you put the watch in front of the person and they fall asleep and they cluck like a chicken and that kind of stuff. Meditation is just guided. Sorry, hypnosis is just a guided meditation. So what we're doing is we're putting you into a relaxed state. So you can't listen to this if you're driving a car or whatever. You do it in a nice, comfortable place. And then when you listen to it, what it does is once it's got you into this relaxed state, your mind opens so it can be conditioned a little bit easier. And so the words that she uses and the stories that she tells are gonna replace some of the negative things that are there. And you don't even know it's working. So you just listen to this once a day for 20 days, a month, and you will shift just by listening to that audio. So we have a whole series of audios that we've created for sales professionals that are for purchase if anybody wants them. But try the free one we're sending today, and I think you'll like that. So that is a tool that you can use to help reprogram that subconscious. All right. So that's really good. Some of the other things are breathing, and that may sound funny to a lot of you. What do I mean by breathing? Because we're all breathing right now. There's different breathing techniques. There's something called box breathing. So if you imagine 4 sides of a box, this is a 4-sided breathing. So basically, you breathe in for a count of 4, you hold it for a count of 4, you breathe out for a count of 4, and you hold it out for a count of 4, and you keep doing that. So it's for doing the box breathing is something that the Marines and the Red Berets or Green Berets, and all these people that are in very difficult, stressful situations use. The ones that go underwater, like scuba divers and all that kind of stuff. You can get yourself in a pretty anxious situation, and there's nothing you can do about it. You're under the water, and so you've got to calm yourself down. So they teach people to do that. So box breathing is something that you can do if your Sunday night is affecting you, because the anxiety is coming from somewhere. It's coming from thoughts you're having about an outcome that you feel like you can't control or you're worried about. So what we want to do is identify those beliefs and write them down and then counteract them and reframe them. So again, one of the physical tools you can use is breathing. Box breathing is one of many, many different kinds of breathing techniques. There's deep breathing where you just take really deep breath. You breathe it, you take it in, hold it, and then you let it back out again. So these things calm down the nervous system and they allow your brain to kind of reboot and think. And so even if you're going to go into a sales meeting, a lot of people will say, take a couple of deep breaths. And you think, why am I doing that? That's why. It's like rebooting your computer when it's got too many applications open. So that'll just calm you down. You'll start to not think about those things as much, and then you can get down to business. And then you can focus on your vision that you have, high vibration, and that customer will lap it up. They'll eat it up because they love dealing with you. All right. So this is the mission that you're on. What else did I want to cover? So the vision, decisions. Okay. So when you're making decisions, you want to make a decision based on your vision. So let's give you an example. I'll give you my example. So I was a very successful head of sales at a company recently, and I decided to leave and start my business. And so when you start a business, you have a couple options. You can spend a little bit of money, get a little bit of a website going and just get going, right? And then once you start to see success and you say, okay, I'll invest a little bit more and invest a little bit more. Here's the problem with that. You're waiting to see, because I said, let me see some success first before I invest properly. So if my vision is to be this world-renowned mindset B2B sales coach, which is what my vision is for me, would I and I need to invest in my business, do I start small or do I act as if I'm already that? So when you have a vision, you want to make decisions and you want to act as if you're already that. So would I spend a little bit of money and do just a little bit of website, or would I go all in and do it properly? And that's what I did. So I spent the money and I went all in. So whenever you're creating that vision of what you want to achieve, you need to make the decision based on you've already achieved it. Not, there's an expression, I said this, my daughter said, Dad, that's from a Disney movie, but I said, they say believing is seeing before seeing is believing. So the old expression is seeing is believing, right? If I see it, I believe it. What I'm saying is believing is seeing. So if you believe your vision, like believe it. Act as if you're already there. Make decisions from there. If you do that, it has a much higher likelihood of happening versus I need to see it to believe it. Because if you start to see things not going as well as they could, and that's going to happen, it happens all the time, that doesn't mean you're not on your way to that vision happening, right? There's paths are like this. So believe it and you'll see it. So believing is seeing before seeing is believing, right? So if you believe it, you'll see it. And then when you start to see it, because we're human, we'll actually really believe it because it's, oh my God, it's really working. Okay, so that's really in a nutshell. I'm taking content that's in my course and trying to rapid fire it to you in less than an hour, pieces of it. And the program that I have is an 8-week program, and I have the students go through it twice. So you go through it once, then you go through it a second time, because when you go through the second time, there's a lot of learning in the first, and then the second time you're actually really starting to apply it. And then we have something called the Thrive Call. So it's a weekly call where I help the students reinforce and use what we're learning, because a lot of things come up. And so that's a program that's available to all of you. We'll talk about that at the end here. And so what I'm teaching you isn't something that I invented by myself. These are natural laws that have been around since the beginning of time. There's been tons of people before me. Bob Proctor comes to mind. He's Canadian. He's passed away now, but he popularized the expression "thoughts become things." So the law of attraction says whatever you think can come true. So he boiled all that down, and he said thoughts become things, right? Or the thing you think about, you can hold in your hand. That's another thing he used to say. So all of these things come from some pioneers way back, in the 1800s, early 1900s, when business was really starting to surge. And there's a documentary called The Secret. They tried to dramatize it and call it The Secret. So they basically said all of these successful billionaires and millionaires, they have this secret that none of us know. And they're basically taught it from their parents and their parents' parents and passed down. And it's basically this: have a vision, believe in it, and make it happen. That's the secret boiled down into one sentence. So what I'm teaching you is exactly that. If you've decided you want to be a very successful salesperson, if you've decided you want to be a very successful sales leader, or if you've decided to be a very successful entrepreneur, who has to sell, by the way, then this stuff is perfect for you. Now, why did I say the name of the course, or the name of this webinar is Sales Mind Reset, and then how do you get the income that you really want? Because all of you have an unlimited income, right? If you're in sales, you most likely have a compensation plan that says that there's no top stop to your commission. And if you don't have that, negotiate it. If you decide to take my course, negotiate with your company right away, you want an unlimited comp plan, because you can make as much money as you want. Now, you could become an entrepreneur, but not everyone has the stomach for that, right? Where they just jump in, and maybe after you've done my course, you will have the stomach for it because all those beliefs will go away. Anyway, so when it comes to money, earning money, most people don't earn money because they just want money. It's the things they can do with the money that matters most. So having a family, I think in the video, I think it was this one, I said, when I was deciding to go from service to sales, I said, hey, maybe I can take my family to Disney because Disney's not cheap. And I can buy a house, right? We were renting a house back then when I was in service in Mississauga. And I said, and you know the way prices of houses are now. So money enables lots of wonderful things in life, but you have to understand there's an abundance of money. You just have to figure out how to get it. One of the modules in my program is actually that. It's all about money, and how to treat it as an abundant resource like water. Most of us have beliefs about money coming from our past that money is hard to get, it's hard to earn, there's a lack of it, things like that. So those beliefs will actually hold you back. And so those are the things that we like to talk about. All right, making sure I didn't miss anything. All right, I want to spend a couple minutes before we wrap up and talk about what you're receiving today. So you're going to be receiving a link to a link to an audio. It's the meditation audio. We've put a lot of thought into this. It's not just some simple little audio that we're giving you. It's a hypnosis-based audio that you'll listen to, and it's sort of a generic one for any sales situation. And if you listen to it on a daily basis, it will help you improve how you feel about sales. And as you feel better about sales, then you will start to do the things you need to do to be more successful. So it's a very passive way to improve your performance as a seller, right? So that's there. We're giving that for free for attending the webinar today. The other thing we're sending is I'm giving away a half hour of my time on a one-on-one. So each one of you is invited to book a one-on-one time with me. It's a Calendly link, so you can pick whatever time works for you. In that call, I want you to share with me what's going on in your world, because you came to this webinar. As far as I can tell, everybody stayed on because the numbers look the same as when we started. So you're all still here. So you must be either doing something else and still here, or you're actually listening. So that's great. And so what I want you to do is book a one-on-one with me. Let's talk about what it is you are struggling with. You came to this webinar for a reason. There's something about this title, or maybe you know who I am and you wanted to come and see what I'm doing. Jump on a call with me, tell me what it is you're struggling with, and I can give you a prescription like a doctor to get well. All right, so I normally charge $300 an hour to do these kinds of things. And so that's a free thing for coming to this session. All right. And so you'll get that. Now we were having difficulty. Some of the emails we were sending were going into junk folders. So I think some of you who were supposed to be here aren't here because of that actually, but check your junk folder, make sure that you're receiving our emails, and then you'll see that come out today. Last but not least is, just make sure I caught everything. Yeah, around. Yep, that's it. Okay, so that's really the end of this webinar. I hope it was helpful. Take those things away. I hope you took notes. Book your one-on-one call. We'll send it out today, and I'd love to help you be successful. This is what I do for a living now, helping people succeed. And if you have anything that you want to know, I'd be glad to help. I think, and this is the first time we've used the Zoom webinar. I've been using the Zoom meetings. I've done hundreds of webinars on GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar, but I'm just learning this one here. So let me see. So someone says, thanks, Rob. You're very welcome, Dennis. Or sorry, Richard. So that's it for me. Hope you have a great day, everybody, and we will send that stuff out shortly. Have a good one.